Well, hello everybody, welcome back to Four Lights Wellness. My name is Omid. For some reason on my feed, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about anterior pelvic tilt. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What actually causes it? Who knows? Well, in this video, I want to address a couple of little points on that, and I also want to talk about one muscle that I don't see a lot of people talking about when it comes to anterior pelvic tilt, how to assess for it, how to actually fix it if you have this issue, and why it's going to help you a lot in the gym. One of the things that we got to talk about though, and a video about anterior pelvic tilt, what the heck is it? Well, here's the thing. We've got a pelvis, we've got an ilium right through here, and what you want to do is you want to find the bony bit in the front, right through there. So a big hard bone, that one's pretty easy to find. The anterior superior iliac spine, the ASIS. The back one's a little harder, so you're going to try and stick your hand down your pants a little bit, find the tailbone, come up, and you'll find this bony bit. Or what you can do is also find the ilium itself. Just keep going around that elephant ear looking bone. There's just a bony bit that sticks out a little tiny bit. So I've got my fingers right on my ilium from the side view. What should happen is the back fingers are going to be above the front ones. That's not an anterior tilt necessarily. If you were to actually measure this, what we're looking for guys is about 4 to 7 degrees. Gals, 7 to 10 degrees, just because of, birth stuff that goes on. Our pelvises are shaped a little bit differently. But that's normal, tipping forward. If the back fingers are underneath or level to the front fingers, that's a posterior tilt, and that also has a whole bunch of disadvantages. But what if it's more than that? What if I'm tipped really far forward like this into that sort of duck butt looking position? You can try this out yourself. If you hold that position for any length of time and you bring your fingers back here, what you'll feel is these muscles are tight. And you start to get this kind of achiness that starts to happen in the lower back where the erectors are too tight. You take a load into that, you're going to start to get that disc kind of protruding forward into the spine a little bit, and you're going to start getting some foraminal stenosising sort of effects. You hold it for long enough. It leads to nerve stuff. It leads to a lot of issues down the leg. It's no good. So you want to make sure you're getting that pelvic tilt tested every now and then. But let's talk about a muscle that a lot of people don't tend to equate with an anterior pelvic tilt. Quad can definitely pull us forward. Psoas can pull us forward. There's a lot of things can pull us forward, but what about the lats? Lats actually attach all the way down to that tailbone. Not a lot of people tend to think about that. So you guys tend to do like when I showed the anatomy book in the last one. Let's talk about this real quick. The thoracolumbar fascia, all of this white stuff right through here. You see it actually goes all the way down to the tailbone, wraps around the ilium itself, and it goes all the way up into that mid-spine. Then it goes out into the arm bone. So if a lat gets tight, what happens is the arm bone on the inside through here gets closer to the tailbone through here. If I do that, that's what happens. My tailbone comes up and back. And if a short, tight lat is your problem and you got that anterior pelvic tilt, you can roll the quads, you can stretch your psoas, you can do a lot of stuff, and you're still going to look like you have a duck butt. So here's how you test for it. You can do this against the wall. I've shown a video about that before in one of my courses, by the way, but table, bed, first thing you do when you wake up, no big deal. You're going to bend the knees to start. You're going to bring the palms towards your face just like this, and you're going to keep the elbows touching each other the whole time. What you're going to feel for is how flat the lower back is to the table or your bed or whatever. There should be a little bit of space there, especially with the knees bent, but just a couple of fingertips. You're not trying to squeeze that down into the table. We're in this palm facing you position, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly start to reach the hands and the elbows up towards the tip top of the table. If my elbows start to come apart, I know there's some tension and tightness there. If my back starts to arch to follow, I also know there's a whole lot of tension there, especially watch that tailbone starts to come up and through because of the tension in the lat. I'm trying to relax and get the palms flat to this table, no problem. My face is in the way, so I'm not going to be able to get too much further, but there's not a lot of issue here. And if you are in this kind of position, you're having trouble keeping those arms together, your lats are tight and you got to stretch them. How do you stretch them? I'm going to show you one of my favorite stretches to do this with. You just need a Swiss ball. What that lat does, like I said, it goes from the arm bone to the tailbone through that thoracolumbar fascia. So you're going to get into a 3-point position with the wrist directly onto that ball. Remember, if it's tight, it tips the tailbone up, so we're going to stretch it by tucking our tail underneath the body pretty far. Attaches on the inside of the arm, so I'm going to take that arm and I'm going to reach it, and then I'm going to kind of take my spine into kind of a C shape. I'm going to fishtail the spine that way at the tailbone and this way at the arm to get that lat to stretch a whole lot, and then I'm going to reach. You can hold this for anywhere between 60 to 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes if you want to, or if you want to be really fancy, you can do a contract and relax technique here. You can squeeze that lat for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then for another 3 to 5 seconds, you can reach even further than you could the first time. You're not contracting to the point where you're actually shortening the muscle. You're just trying to get it some tension, and then reach again. And you can retest this right immediately after. You did that stretch in the first place to see how tight it was. You do this stretch really quick, and then you retest afterwards to see how much better it is. And then what do you know? You stand back up and you retest your pelvic tilt, and everything's in a pretty good space. And now you can actually go and get ready for all of the things that an anterior pelvic tilt would get in the way of. For example, squatting. You get that duck butt going all the way back, you hit that wink at the bottom of the squat, you come back up that wink and back up into an anterior posterior, anterior posterior. It's kind of like bending a paper clip a bunch of times in a row. You're going to start to get some issues in that lumbar spine. You want to make sure that tilt stays neutral, 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 slight tilt, and then back up. Same thing with the deadlift. You don't want just the erectors to do all the work. You want the hamstrings and the glutes, the really powerful muscles, to get into a good position. But if that tilt is too far forward, well, now your hamstrings are too long to actually do the work. Your lower back's going to do everything. Eventually, that starts to lead to a whole lot of problems that my butt had. So make sure you're taking care of this. You got to get assessed to understand where that anterior pelvic tilt or posterior pelvic tilt's actually coming from. That's where having a coach like me can help, because we got these fancy tools and calipers and things like that. Or you can just run tests like this that you find on the channel on your own to see if the lats are actually causing this trouble for you. But that's it for this video. I hope this information is very helpful to you guys. As always, have a happy and healthy rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one.